What would you do if you find out that a 53-year-old man had lured your 17 daughter to his house, raped her, and strangled the helpless, innocent girl to death? That's the shocking story we will be uncovering today in our true crime video. But before we dive deeper into the thrilling details behind this tragedy, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can keep updated with trending crime stories. August 2019, in Sheldon, Illinois, where life moves at a calm and familiar rhythm, a quiet tragedy began with something as innocent as a neighborhood garage sale. Among the tables filled with household items and collectibles, 17-year-old Adara Bunn found herself drawn to a set of Disney memorabilia, a set of Pocahontas cups. Her curiosity and youthful enthusiasm brought her back to this same house, trusting the man who had invited her to return. What happened next would shatter her family, her community, and the sense of safety in this small town. Adara was the kind of teenager anyone would admire, a straight-A student with big dreams and a heart full of kindness. She aspired to become a veterinarian, spending her days preparing for a future filled with hope. But all of that was stolen on a quiet Monday afternoon, inside the home of a man she barely knew. Arthur Jensen, a local resident, used her trust against her, luring her into a trap under the guise of sharing his Disney collection. By the time neighbors heard her desperate screams, it was already too late. The story is more than just a crime. It's a devastating reminder of how easily trust can be betrayed. It's a lesson in vigilance, a call to understand the hidden dangers that can lie beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary events. As we explore this tragic tale, we'll uncover the life Adara left behind, the man responsible for her death, the trial that followed, and the impact it had on everyone who knew her. Adara Bunn was more than a name in the headlines. She was a young woman brimming with potential and kindness. At just 17 years old, she had already set her sights on becoming a veterinarian, inspired by her love for animals and her desire to care for the world around her. Adara was known for her academic excellence, a straight-A student at Milford High School who excelled in every subject she took on. Her teachers described her as focused, dedicated, and a joy to have in class. Beyond academics, Adara loved simple joys: fishing trips with her family, quiet afternoons reading books, and adding to her growing collection of Disney memorabilia were some of the ways she spent her time. Her love for Disney wasn't just a hobby. It was a reflection of her appreciation for stories of wonder, adventure, and hope. Adara's mother described her as a pillar of strength and compassion, a young woman who was both selfless and determined. She dreamed not only of personal success, but of making a positive impact on the lives of others. These dreams, tragically, would never be realized. Arthur Jensen was 53 years old at the time of the crime, a resident of Sheldon who seemed to blend seamlessly into the fabric of the community. On the surface, there was little to suggest that he was anything but an ordinary man. He had a quiet interest in Disney collectibles, often seen buying, selling, and trading items at garage sales and local markets. But beneath the surface, there was a darker side to Jensen. Those who knew him described him as quiet, even withdrawn, but never alarming. He had no criminal record, no known history of violence or erratic behavior. It was this outward normalcy that allowed him to gain the trust of someone as cautious and bright as Adara. Jensen's actions, however, painted a different picture. A man capable of calculated deceit, someone who used his unassuming demeanor to manipulate and harm. August 2nd, 2019. The story began on an ordinary summer day. Adara and her mother attended a neighborhood garage sale at Jensen's home. They browsed the tables, chatting casually as they sifted through the items. Among the clutter, Adara's eyes lit up at the sight of a set of Pocahontas cups, a find that thrilled her as a Disney memorabilia collector. Jensen engaged her in conversation, pointing out other items and mentioning that he might have more Disney memorabilia available later. His tone was friendly, casual, and disarming. Adara decided to buy the cups, and her mother felt no reason to question Jensen's intentions. August 4th, 2019. 2 days later, Adara returned to Jensen's home. This time, she was alone, excited at the possibility of finding more collectibles for her growing collection. Jensen's wife was away at a high school reunion, leaving him to manage the leftover items from the garage sale with a friend. Jensen told Adara he wasn't ready to show her the items just yet. He suggested she return the following day, promising to set aside the collectibles she was interested in. Adara, trusting his words, agreed. August 5th, 2019. The morning began like any other. Adara likely woke up with the excitement of continuing her collection and the thought of finding more treasures. She made her way to Jensen's house that afternoon, unaware of the danger awaiting her. Once inside, the atmosphere shifted. This time, there were no items laid out, no signs of preparation for a sale. Instead, Adara found herself alone with Jensen. What followed was an act of violence so sudden, so horrifying, that neighbors could only describe the aftermath in fragments. Screams that echoed through the quiet streets, desperate cries for help. Police were called, and when they arrived, Jensen met them at the door. His words chilled them to the core. "There's a girl inside and I strangled her." Inside, they found Adara's lifeless body, a life full of promise, extinguished in an instant. Police acted quickly upon receiving the calls from concerned neighbors. Officers arrived to find Jensen waiting at the door, his calm demeanor adding an eerie weight to his confession. Inside the house, they found the scene as he had described, a young girl whose life had been stolen in an act of unthinkable violence. Investigators meticulously combed through the scene, collecting evidence that painted a clearer picture of what had transpired. They analyzed physical evidence, witness statements, and Jensen's own words, piecing together the timeline of events leading up to Adara's death. News of Adara's death spread quickly through Sheldon, leaving the community in shock. Vigils were held, flowers and candles left on the steps of her high school, and messages of support poured in for her grieving family. The community struggled to reconcile the image of Arthur Jensen, a quiet collector, with the reality of his actions. How do communities recover from tragedies like this? Have you ever been part of a community dealing with such a loss? Share your experiences below. Following his immediate confession and the overwhelming evidence at the scene, Arthur Jensen was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The charges reflected the severity of his actions, and there was little doubt that the case against him would move swiftly through the legal system. In the months leading up to the trial, Jensen's legal team made various attempts to lessen the charges. They argued about his mental state and suggested that his confession may not fully align with his intent. Prosecutors, however, presented a robust case, highlighting the premeditated nature of his actions. The evidence, from witness accounts to forensic findings, painted a clear picture of deliberate and calculated violence. The trial began in early 2023, drawing significant attention from the local community and beyond. The courtroom was packed with reporters, community members, and Adara's grieving family. Prosecutors laid out the timeline of events, emphasizing Jensen's manipulative behavior and his calm confession to the police. Neighbors who heard Adara's screams recounted the harrowing moments before the police arrived. Family members spoke about the bright future Adara had ahead of her and the devastating impact of losing her. Jensen's attorneys attempted to argue for leniency, suggesting that he acted impulsively. However, the prosecution countered with evidence showing how Jensen planned and executed his crime, from inviting Adara back to ensuring no one else was home. In March 2023, after deliberating for only a few hours, the jury found Jensen guilty on both counts of first-degree murder. The swiftness of their decision underscored the strength of the evidence against him. On May 15, 2023, Judge Michael Sabol sentenced him to 50 years in prison. With no chance of parole, Jensen will spend the rest of his life behind bars. The sentencing brought some measure of closure to Adara's family, though it could never truly heal their loss. The community expressed relief at the justice served, but remained haunted by the realization that such a tragedy could occur in their small town. Adara's parents and siblings were left grappling with the unimaginable void her death left behind. Her mother described the pain of losing not just a daughter, but also a future filled with milestones they would never get to witness: graduations, career achievements, and the life she was destined to build. During the trial, her family shared emotional statements about who Adara was and how deeply her loss had affected them. Her mother's words stood out. Adara trusted the wrong person, but she trusted because she was kind. That kindness was stolen from us forever. Sheldon, Illinois, a town not accustomed to such violence, united in grief. Candlelight vigils were held at Milford High School, where classmates shared memories of Adara's kindness and determination. Teachers and friends spoke about the positive impact she had on those around her. The tragedy also sparked conversations about personal safety and the importance of vigilance, particularly among young people. Workshops and safety seminars were organized in the months following her death, aiming to educate the community on how to recognize and avoid potential dangers. What steps do you take to protect yourself or your loved ones in everyday situations? Do you have any tips for staying safe? Share them in the comments to help others. The story of Adara Bunn is a heartbreaking reminder of how trust, once misplaced, can have devastating consequences. It is a call to remain vigilant, to educate ourselves and those around us, and to ensure that no life is lost to preventable acts of violence. Adara's memory lives on through her family, her friends, and the community that continues to honor her. Her story has sparked change in Sheldon, leading to greater awareness and efforts to protect young people from similar tragedies. No community is immune to danger, no matter how peaceful it may seem. But by learning from stories like Adara's, we can take steps to create safer environments for ourselves and those we care about. Trust is a powerful thing, but it must always be coupled with caution.